Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the podcast of Gen E. What is Gen E? You don't know by now? Well, it's the generation of Europeans who believe in the importance of education, entrepreneurship, and employment. And we are on the road to Tallinn, where we are going to have the largest European entrepreneurship event, where over 370,000 young entrepreneurs across Europe have competed to be the best company of Europe. So, why are we doing those podcasts? Well, you know already. Follow us on Spotify, follow us on YouTube, follow us in all the different platforms, and don't forget to like and share. My name is Salvatore Nigro, and I'm the CEO of JA Europe. And today we are going to talk about something so important: the impact of learning project management early in life. So when you talk about project management, you need to go to the experts. And we do have a great expert with us from our partners, from PMIEF. What is PMIEF? The Project Management Education Foundation, the Project Management Institute Education Foundation. I have with me David Hunter, the Global Subject Matter Expert at PMIEF. Hello, David.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you?
Hi. So then we look at our JA family, our JA community across Europe. Do you know the country that has adopted JA programs and modules in full? That is Albania. And we have with us the CEO of JA Albania, Blerina Guga. Hi, Blerina.
Hi, Sal. Hi, David. Hi, Max. Glad to be here.
Why do we work so hard in inspiring, preparing young people? Because we want them to succeed, to become alumni who succeed in life, at work, become entrepreneurs. And we have with us the president of those one who have succeeded, the president of the Alumni Association of Europe, the president of Alumni Europe, Maxi Koch. Hi, Maxi.
Hello, Sal. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, before derailing here, I know that we want to chit chat. We come after a long winter where people were still in lockdown, not lockdown. Now we all want to meet, hug, talk, exchange, build relations, but also think about the future. And I remember my mother she told me when I was young, Salvatore, you need to think big. But is it enough? Well, you need to think big, but you have to have your project, your life project, your career project. Whether it's personal, academic, professional, so many aspects of life are impacted by project management. And it is an important skills to be learned when? In early age, we will find out. So, David, tell me about the impact PMIF aim for empowering young people with project management skills.
Great question. So first of all, thanks so much for having me today. It's a really exciting topic. I think it's a topic that everybody worldwide should know about. So excited to speak with you today. PMIEF is a fantastic foundation that I don't think a lot of people know about. So it's been around about 30 years. And the goal originally was to empower every person around the world with project management skills. And that's changed in the past few years. And now the focus is on ages 5 to 19 with the same mandate, which is to empower those youth, early youth, with project management skills. And the idea there is that everybody is a change maker. So when we talk about project management, at least when I talked about project management many years ago, it was the people building bridges and huge oil refineries. But when we think about what people are actually doing, especially nowadays, there's a lot of change coming from very unexpected places. And people throughout the world, especially in the 5 to 19 range, are making a difference. And there's skill sets there in the project management industry and playbook that they can take advantage of to make sure that the impact that they're making is as wide as it possibly can be. And everybody is empowered to make impact.
love the what you said about the change makers, and we do have change makers in this podcast. I can tell you, I have witnessed that, David. So my mother was right when she was saying thinking big, but I see that I wish that PMI and PMIF would have given me those skills when I was at that age. But I'm so glad that you're now focusing 5 years old to 19 years old. I look forward for my son, who is 7 now, to attend
Perfect
some
age.
of those training programs. I think it will be so useful. So talking about change makers, talking about change, Blerina, with the support of PMIF, how this has changed the J organization in Albania?
Well, first of all, let me thank you all very much for giving the opportunity and having JA Albania part of the JA nations that entered the partnership with PMIF, because it was a timely and very needed intervention for our organization. What we've done in these 10 years of existence in the Albanian market of extracurricular and curricular education, but specified and unified in financial literacy and entrepreneurship education, it's a very good work. And I cannot be modest about praising the team that has worked in these 10 years. But project management, it was the first time that we introduced this model, and it was a great success. What we presented to 100 teachers and much more than 200 students during the first batch of training of PMIF, the first year, came with an excellent feedback from them. Starting from the teachers, more than 85% of them was the first time that were presented with the project management models to be used in teaching methodology, regardless the topics and the subject. The teachers expressed themselves that this skill learned in such a very easy and absorbable methodology was so much needed from them. So, and based on this is something that we're planning to have for the long term in the list of modules that we apply with teachers and students of pre-university education in Albania. And coming to students, to them, it was so natural that along with the trainings of the company program on how to start up a company, how to build the business, how to write an annual report, this project management methodology came so naturally into their health. Even though they're very young, and for them, project management at the first time sounds a very strong binom of words to be absorbed and understood. The way the methodology is explained was so easy and applicable to what they do, not only on company program of JA subjects, but in many other subjects that they deal with during their school years.
It's a lot of change for them, but change for good. It's the
Good.
first time that they were actually exposed to something like that. Huh? So imagine you are at school, you study about the most remote subjects that you probably never gonna use in life, and then nobody is actually teaching you about how to build a project. that's something that definitely is so needed. Huh?
Yes, and if I might add, the biggest change happened within JA organization, because in the timeline of the project, there were trained 3 staff members of JA. 2 of them are junior members of the staff, and 1 of them was a senior member. And the impact on them, trust me, because I evaluate their work, has been so visible within the first 4 months of the training with PMIF. I could see changes in the language of their reporting or their planning. So they're starting not only from the vocalizing of the terms, of the professional terms used in project management, but in the templates and the plans used for the project purpose.
And you're a great leader, so you see in your employee, in the employee of JA from Albania, how this was successful. And Maxi, you're a successful entrepreneur, own family business. You deal with project management every day. Probably, how would you rank the importance of project management skills among other critical skills definitely needed by the young people, especially when they're entering into the workforce as entrepreneurs or employees?
I think the great thing that JA does with all the programs and what we all here, change makers on this call, are enforcing is not just project management. It's a life lesson, right? Me myself going through the company program, now being a project manager, it was with the sort of ease that I came into the job because I already knew what was going on roughly, right? Because I went through a lot of stages of project management during the programs that I've been through at JA. So this really equipped me with knowing what to do, or sort of giving me a sense for that in a very, very safe space, which is at school. And the teacher telling me, hello, this is how you do it. You might want to try this a bit better, and nothing can go wrong. So I think it's the most important skill. It's a life lesson that all of these students go through and are equipped with through JA and the work that we do there. So it's definitely the most important thing, for sure.
A great testimonial, I can see. So from the user experience, so important to collect this feedback. But let me go back to David. Now we're talking about personal, professional. Give me some concrete example about the impact of project management, David, in both personal or personal.
Sure. It's a good question, and I'm pretty much the epitome of the accidental project manager. So I wish I had a program like this when I was younger too. So I'm a little jealous of your 7-year-old who's going to go through it. But you know, when I was much younger, I started programming when I was a small child, and I started doing some consulting actually in our local neighborhood. So the best example for me, actually, project management is not what I'm doing now, but it's what I was doing back then. And I remember how difficult that was for me. Not to the scope of the project was essentially I was building a website for somebody, and you know, I was about probably 9 years old or 10 years old. So whether it looked good or not was a subjective opinion. But at the time, it was finding a way to get to the finish line when I knew the deliverable and I was capable of doing it at the time, but it was all the checkpoints in between. So when we talk about now vendor management or quality management, scope management, schedule management, cost management, it was all those things that now I know the frameworks and I know where I can go if I need a question answered about how to deliver the best possible project. But back then I didn't know that. So I remember, you know, grabbing a piece of paper and writing down, okay, this is the finish line and this is where I am now. And I need to make my way somehow to here. And okay, I need to have a meeting with them in about 3 weeks. And so I'm going to do that here. And I kind of made a mini Gantt chart myself and kind of figure things out as I went. But it was incredibly difficult. And as the years went on and I started doing more and more consulting, that became easier and I found my own workflow. But it wasn't until 2015 when I actually found the Project Management Institute. And I decided at that time that I'd heard about it before, but as I mentioned earlier, I always thought it was about building bridges or other things, right? And so I decided to go for a certification at that point. And when I started actually reading the material that was in there, first of all, I was a little disappointed that I hadn't found it many years before, but I was really excited because I realized how much faster, how much more effective I would be, and how much faster and more effective the projects that I was managing for clients and ultimately the organizations that I work with now would be as a result of those frameworks. And so, you know, if you talk about large-scale enterprise projects that I've worked on since then, and the global projects that I look after now, there's frameworks there that are accessible to me. And I don't remember everything that's in the PMBOK. I don't think anybody does, and I'm very impressed if they do. But when I need to know, you know, what's the best way to write maybe a contract for a vendor, for example, is there anything I'm missing? I have a source that I can go to. I have a guide, and I have experts and a wide community with the Project Management Institute that are accessible to me and to everybody to be able to deliver the best possible thing for the organization. So I'd say going from chaos, complete chaos, and trying to find your own way into an environment where everything is there. It's just a matter of how you want to assemble the Lego blocks. Has been an incredible eye-opener for me, and really changed the way that I approach projects, initiatives, and as Maxi said, life in general.
Knowledge, content, methodology, processes. You mentioned certification, so important as well. The certification part, you're certified project manager. And talking about all this, you've navigated obviously into the different roles, and it has helped you, as I understand, also understanding the different frameworks. Blerina, but when do we need to start? Because we saw David say before, well, we need to start early, in life. JA normally works with, upper secondary, startup. We also have a large constituency in primary schools. We have a mid school. So when is the right time? How early those young people can do? If any of you wants to answer, maybe let's start with Blerina.
The earlier the better. That would be my question, my answer to your question, Sal. Because what we experience with upper secondary students in this batch of applying the PMIEF assistance in our company program, as I said before, there was a big need for this type of methodology to be presented and to be applied in their company program. But alongside with it, there was a lot of readiness to receive this information. And once we assess this readiness on young students of high schools, we assume, and by observing our primary education results, that this concept, simplified and gamified, can be successfully presented even in early stages of primary education if they are adapted to their level of development, and especially gamified, because that's what's working, what we see on our JA modules implementation recently, that gamification is the key to equip these younger future entrepreneurs with any concept that we might like to use and they need for the future. So this 1 year of implementing in high schoolers was a complete success, with the challenges at the first time, because when they hear project management, I'm not a manager, I don't want to be a manager. But when you simplify it and you step by step, as the module does, giving examples of what's a project, how do I do it, where do I start it, those golden 6 stages of a project development, and they receive it very, very good, and they can really be ready for that even earlier.
Learning by doing, gamifying, music to my ears. And Maxi, the alumni play an important role into that. But how project management played an important role in your professional path?
Well, as I already said, I'm a project manager right now, so it's kind of, to me, it's as I said, it's kind of a life lesson, and also like, what you just mentioned with the students saying, I don't want to be a manager. You are managing your whole life every day. When I wake up and I'm a student and I go to school, I need to know what subjects I'm planning for. I need to have my homework with me. So you're already project managing your own life. So besides that, again, I can really just repeat myself here. I use the skills that I've learned during the company program and through JA and all the projects I've done with the alumni on a daily basis. Really setting what David said before, this is my goal, this is where I want to be, and this is where I am. How can I get there? What tactics do I have to reach this? Especially if you're working in a team. I usually work with 5 to 6 people on a daily basis in my team, making sure they can actually get the things done and serve our customers the way they can. But big spoiler here, I work in construction. So I think we've all been in touch with construction companies here and there. It is a very, very big pain, and it is a very, very big mess usually to work with construction companies. So my goal every day is kind of to really get like this very negative image out of the way and be like, okay, I will actually be the first construction project manager who gets the stuff done, and I will do this by the skills that I've learned during the alumni, all the alumni projects I've done and everything that JA has equipped me with. And I have to say, it's going very well. So again, I think project management is not just a skill, it's more of a mindset. It's just with being an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a founder to be an entrepreneur. What's really more important is to have this entrepreneurial mindset. And then again, this project manager mindset of really getting things done and of really knowing what your goal is and making sure you get there little tiny steps every day, just a tiny amount more. So yeah.
The entrepreneurial mindset that those 370,000 young people this year had, and they're competing to get to the Gen E, the European Entrepreneurship event in Tallinn. We're all going to be there on the second week of July to discover the best companies across Europe. And for the first time ever, PMIEF will give out a European Signature Award, the PMIEF Best Project Plan Award. David, what criteria you'll be looking in the JA student companies?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I do have a list of criteria that PMI has given me, and I'm going to flip over to that to make sure I give you the right information. It's a very exciting award, though, and I think what is happening in JA Europe is an incredible opportunity for so many people. So I'm really excited to see what the outcome of this is. So as you mentioned, it's the PMIEF Best Project Plan Award. And the description of it is the award recognizes excellence in project management practices, including superior planning, organization, innovation, execution, and positive impacts on society. There's a few judging criteria, and they do follow the project management life cycle. So initiating, defining the project, planning, determining how to accomplish the project, execution, carrying out the project plan, monitoring and controlling, just conducting ongoing check-ins on the process and progress towards the end goal, and finally closing, which is evaluates learning, processes employed, and end product. And there's 20% for each of those criteria. So initiating is 20%, planning is 20%, execution 20%, monitoring, controlling 20%, closing 20%.
I see already Blerina is taking notes for the JA of Albania youth to make sure they all have and they all match those criteria to compete to the European Signature Award, supported by PMIEF. Blerina, but did you see already, Blerina, this year in the JA Company of the Year competition in Albania, did you notice anything new related to project management skills of your students?
Definitely yes, because it was so readable across all the business annual business reports that they presented for our national competition of JA Students Company Program. You could tell across the 58 applications that we received that they had reflected on the way how did they summarize their business plan and how they organized it in a much more easier and presentable to a potential jury or to the potential professional who are supposed to read that report. And we did this even without knowing that we will be having this podcast with PMIEF in the Jenny settings. We did an inner analysis in order to measure the impact of this intervention and to measure the quality of the trainers that gave the PMIEF for students and teachers of the company program students. And we could see that. But much more than the students that we saw it helps the teachers. And because the younger generation absorbs so very much and they reflect what they learn. And the PMIEF was in the middle of the cycle of students' company program trainings. And we saw the reflection on the report they submitted. But the teacher find it more easier to understand their students' reports and to make the connection of what they teach in the company program model and how it is reflected and organized based on the steps of a project management cycle. So this podcast came right to the spot for us to assure that kind of assessment that we did for our own purpose, growing organization, growing and learning processes, was worthy even for another type of activity such as this podcast.
Watch out, Europe. Watch out, Europe. The JA of Albania youth are coming with project management skills already to compete at Gen E. And I'm going to give you 3 numbers: 2, 2, 1. Yes, 221 student companies have already built their virtual stand on our virtual expo. So go to www.gen-e.eu and discover our virtual expo. You will be amazed at the video, the brochure, the plans, the idea that those young people put together for their fantastic company. Participating, you're all excited about. The winning, let me get some tips. Those who have already gone through this, Maxi, you have already gone through the company program, you've already gone to the European finance. What advice would you give to the young people?
The most important advice that is very, very good. I've just been to the Austrian finals this year, as well as to the finals in Switzerland. And I have to really emphasize what you just said, Sal. The ideas, the spirit, the products, the way that these young students want to change the world is just absolutely incredible and inspiring to see. But I think that the biggest advice to give them, and most of them are already doing it, is kind of to be true to yourself. This is not about fake it till you make it. This is actual work. So being authentic as a team, having the numbers, be prepared, but really make sure that you can identify with your idea, with your mindset, what you want to put out in the world as a team, as a company during these finals. That's the most important part, because if you're not convinced that your product is the best, that you're the best company, that you are changing the world, you're the game changers we're looking for, you're Gen E, you're not convinced, well, the rest of the world is not going to be convinced either, right? So take a step back, breathe in, breathe out, and then let them hear why you have what it takes to become the company of the year. I think that's all.
If you're not convinced, why the others should be convinced about it, huh? So he went to the Swiss finals, he went to the Austrian finals. It doesn't move from the Alps. It just stay over there. Don't change his plan. Don't change his plan. But we're gonna see you in Tallinn, Maxi. Are we gonna see you in Tallinn? Well, I look forward to see you in Tallinn. We also have the leadership alumni award there to celebrate the success of our alumni. So we're running out of time for this podcast, but let me go back quickly to David, because David, how do you expect project management to evolve in the future? What development should the next generation of Europeans expect when we're talking about project management?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we'd all agree that we're living in a very noisy world, noise where information is increasing exponentially. The asks on our time are increasing exponentially. And there's so much we can possibly put our attention towards, whether it's formal media or social media or the next best online course to take or whatnot. And so we're in a world now that I find quite interesting. There's a lot of organizations that are providing project management type training. There's a lot of weekend courses you can take, LinkedIn Learning, whatever. But moving forwards, I think we all want to return to a little bit more of a quieter environment. COVID has been quite crazy for everybody, and there's been a lot going on. But to have some consistency in our lives, in our organizations, I really believe is going to be a trend over the next, let's call it 5 years, but 10 years and moving forwards. And what that means is that we need space to be able to explore what works and what doesn't. And the organizations that are able to consolidate their thinking. There's a lot of good ideas right now floating around. And I really agree with what's been said on this podcast so far, that it's a lifestyle, it's a mindset. The training helps the teachers because they speak a common vocabulary. And when organizations are able to speak a common vocabulary, it's kind of like cooking. You can use different ingredients and get different dishes, but there's still the same core set of skills, the same core set of ingredients to use. Otherwise, you're trying to figure out how to build your own oven and how to source your own spices from the forest. And so moving forwards, we're going to be in a world where organizations are going to consolidate their thought processes in the same way that we are individually. And having project management skill sets doesn't mean you're going to be using everything every single day, but it means that you're going to be speaking that common language. And you're going to be able to move things forward without getting stuck saying the same thing in a different language. And we're kind of, many of us, in that situation right now. But I really do believe that's going to change sooner than later.
We are gonna definitely interesting time, because it's a time of transition, a time of change. I like what you said about companies, organizations who consolidate themselves. Not only about the idea, is put this into action and get it done. So we are with that entrepreneurial mindset for over 103 years now at JA. When we were born, 1990, and we have that entrepreneurial mindset, and we are already in the mindset of Gen E. So I have still a couple of questions from Blerina and Maxi, but the time is running over. So I'm going to make the question, which is, Maxi, what is your future career and entrepreneurship plan? And Blerina, how do you expect the JA business to evolve in the future with more project management skills into the company programs? But you are going to listen to their answer in Tallinn in about a few weeks. So I'll see you there in Tallinn. Thank you so much, PMIEF, for being such a great supporter of JA in
Thanks
Europe.
for having us.
It's been a great pleasure.
Pleasure for all. Thank you.
Thank you.